The mountains which we passed today, much worse than yesterday. The last, excessively bad. Meriwether Lewis, September 1805.
In 1877, the non-treaty Nez Perce took this trail from west to east in an attempt to escape from the U.S. cavalry into Canada. Today, Highway 12 follows the same route up the Lochsaw River, over Lolo Pass, and down Lolo Creek into Montana. This two-lane highway is a corridor through some of Montana and Idaho's wildest lands, providing thousands with access to backcountry camping, fishing, hunting, and boating. The Lochsaw River is a designated National Wild and Scenic River, dropping close to 2,000 feet in about 70 miles, with more than 60 rapids. Highway 12 is a Northwest Passage scenic byway and part of the Trans-America Bike Route. Recently, Imperial Oil, a subsidiary of ExxonMobil, requested a permit to ship mining equipment manufactured in Asia to be used in Canada. The proposed route is up the Columbia and Snake Rivers to the port of Lewiston, and then overland through the mountains of Idaho and Montana to the port of Sweetgrass on the Alberta border. There are already existing routes. Why then has Exxon proposed this new route? Because it will save them money and increase their profits. The permit application is for about 200 loads that are between 200 and 300 feet long, up to 24 feet wide and 30 feet tall, some weighing over 500,000 pounds. In order to transport this equipment, in Montana alone, the Curl Module Transportation Project, as it is called, will permanently raise or bury 572 utility lines, permanently modify 22 turnouts and build 53 new ones, permanently modify the roadway in 5 locations.
In this case, Imperial Oil restricted the scope and duration of its assessment of impacts to this project, so much that it doesn't allow an assessment of the true impacts. Up until the EA came out, every public statement that came from MBT, every statement that was made to the press from the Port of Lewiston, everybody was acknowledging that this was a permanent highway corridor through Montana.
Once Exxon has invested in altering the roadway and the permits have been granted, a precedent will be set to change these highways to industrial corridors and change our way of life forever. In a Montana Legislative Committee meeting, Department of Transportation Director Jim Lynch said,
"We're not talking about one load, we're talking about an operation for an extended period of time. It's a major impact on the state. We are actually setting the stage for a high-wide corridor through the state of Montana to be used probably for things that we haven't even imagined yet. It would probably lend itself more to an EIS than an EA.
But the document will not admit that this is a permanent high-wide corridor. To admit that means that they would have to look at the cumulative impacts of using this corridor over and over again to service the tar sands, for every oil company that's getting their equipment manufactured in Korea and wanting the shortest, cheapest route.
I've over my life, I've seen a lot of environmental issues. I've never seen anything as threatening to Montana as this proposal it's just perversely being represented as 200 loads. It's not 200 loads. The state is not being honest in representing that.
According to Montana Governor Brian Schweitzer, it's jobs, jobs, jobs.
for the bulk of the economic benefit to this operation, it's Canada's. It's not Montana's when you're looking at the ExxonMobil route.
This is really helping out the Canadian economy in terms of their tar sand project, which generates billions of dollars for the Alberta provincial government as well as for the federal government. It's benefiting ExxonMobil and it's benefiting the Korean economy as well as the Dutch companies that are coming in to handle the transportation. So when you look at it, in a sense, we're being used as a sacrifice zone for foreign jobs.
Canada holds the second largest oil reserves in the world. Production in the Alberta tar sands will more than double in the next 10 years. Already, numerous oil companies have announced their plans to produce there. How do they plan to get their equipment there?
This is the selected route for getting equipment manufactured in Korea to Alberta.
The jobs we could lose from this kind of project, which will massively change the marketing perspective of Montana as the last best place with outdoor recreation, with beautiful, clear running rivers, will be forever lost.
We put in at mile 139, which is one of the stations where they're going to be basing during the day the modules in between their movement at nights. Our lodge is right here on the Clearwater River and is right next to Highway 12. So having these big rigs come through is a direct impact to our guests who are staying at the lodge.
The sections of the Lewis and Clark Trail along Highway 12 are the only overland portion of the Lewis and Clark Trail. It's actually up above on the ridge lines, but a lot of people that are retracing the Lewis and Clark Trail follow Highway 12 along the Waxhaw River. This particular corridor is a designated wild and scenic river, and it's a scenic byway. I just wouldn't want to see anything destroy that or take away from that.
There's this idea that somehow we have no choice.
An environmental impact statement would require ExxonMobil to study the true impacts of this proposed route on Idaho and Montana. Contact your representatives today and ask that they require an EIS.